Hey everyone, Chris here. I've fractured my ankle, and so in this video we're going to talk about what happened, what that means, and what the rehab process looks like, particularly in the first 2 weeks, and talk about some of the psychology of recovery as well. So if you've had an accident while running, you've fractured your ankle, probably wondering what's going on, what does the rehab process look like, what psychology do I need? We'll discuss all of that in this video, and you can use the chapter markers to jump around. Just a quick reminder at this point that I'm talking about personal experience. This isn't medical advice. My rehab plan might look different to yours. So let's start by what it is. So it's what I have is called an avulsion fracture, and this is where a bit of bone rips off. So what happened was I was out running and I fell over coming down off a curb. I'm not sure if there's some gravel there or something, but ended up going over on my ankle, twisting it. Thought I'd sprained it, later went in for an x-ray, and it turned out I'd fractured it. I'd ripped a piece of bone off. Nurse practitioner was very complimentary and said it happens when your ligaments are so strong that the bone gives before the ligament does. Also, kind of the other side to me sounds like maybe I just have weak bones rather than super strong ligaments. Who knows? So now I've got this boot on. I'll stand up and show you the boot. So it could be worse. It's not a pot, it's got these Velcro straps. I can take it off whenever I need to. It's just for walking around. Got to wear this for 4 weeks, and then I've got another 4 weeks of not running, so out for 8 weeks in total, and then I'll have to start building up, and that's the minimum. Could be longer, so not ideal, but hopefully that's it. Shouldn't require surgery, fingers crossed, but who knows, we'll have to see how the recovery goes. But hopefully it's just stomping around in this for a while, and to be honest, it's not super bad. Like, it's not really painful, it's just inconvenient, and it's pretty painful when I start putting weight on it without the boot on, but I'm actually pretty mobile other than that. Okay, so let's say this happens to you. You go over on your ankle. It might be a sprain, it might be a fracture. What's the first thing that you do? What should you do immediately? Well, a couple of things. So one is that when it first happens, like, you might get up and it'll probably be pretty painful, and you'll realize that you can't keep running on it. Now, an important thing to point out here is that actually that pain is going to get worse, or at least your mobility is going to get worse. So it hurt a lot when I did it, but I was in town, I live in town, and so I was like, well, I only live around the corner, I will limp home. But an important thing to remember here is that the swelling hasn't kicked in the minute you do it. So you've done the damage, but the swelling is going to get worse for the next 15 minutes. So even if you get up straight away and think, well, it hurts a lot, but I can limp home, remember that that swelling is just going to get worse for 15 minutes. So probably worth getting a taxi, or however else you can get home, get a lift, whatever it is, because even if you think you've got a bit of mobility after it, you're going to lose even more of that mobility as the swelling takes up. And then you'll probably want to get an x-ray. I didn't think that would be a big thing, but as soon as I spoke to the doctor, they were like, no, you just need to go in for an x-ray, because we don't know if it's a sprain, a twist. I don't even know if twist is a real medical term. Sprain is, or it might be an avulsion fracture, or a different kind of fracture. You might have broken something, and they can only really tell that with an x-ray. So you want to get an x-ray done, and then they'll be able to work out what the recovery plan looks like. For me, with this avulsion fracture, with just this little fragment of bone ripped off, what does the recovery look like for that? Well, as we've discussed, I've got to wear the boot for 4 weeks. Then I'm supposed to take the boot off and just walk around for 4 weeks and wean myself off the boot. So there could be some pain there, and they said you can still wear the boot for longer walks, but try not to wear it. But then there's another 4 weeks there where I'm not supposed to do any impact stuff, so any running or jumping or fun things like that. And then even after that, the pain could last longer. So even though it's fully healed, I'm not sure what fully healed means if there's still pain, but they said it'll be fully healed by the 8 weeks, but you might get like pain and maybe some swelling for up to 3 to 6 months, which sounds pretty grim. So quite a lot going on there. So what am I doing in these first 2 weeks in terms of recovery? Well, obviously wearing the boot a lot of the time. I'm supposed to take it off when I'm resting and get my foot elevated, and so I'm doing that. It's quite, because there's like 5 Velcro straps around 2 Velcro straps to keep the boot secure. It takes quite a lot of time to get on and off, so a lot of the time I just hop around my apartment. Luckily I just live on 1 floor here, so that's very doable to just hop everywhere, just because it's a pain to get the boot on and off. And I'm quite mobile, like I can easily hop to the kitchen, hop to the bathroom, all of that works. And I'm quite glad for all of the strength and conditioning that I've been doing. I do a lot of single leg work. If you've done my strength and conditioning course, you know I'm a big fan of single leg work, because when we're running, we're just hopping from one leg to the other. So luckily I can just hop around the apartment, and I have the balance and coordination and ankle strength in my other ankle to do that because of all the strength and conditioning I've been doing, which is then kind of ironic in some ways that I damaged my ankle, but not really, because it wasn't an overuse injury. I've done 3 Ironmans, a bunch of ultras this year, and it's been fine. Just that freak accident of going over on it did it in. So that's been really useful, wearing the boot, hopping around. I've still been able to cycle and swim, luckily. So everyone at the hospital said, yeah, you're fine to take the boot off to cycle and swim. I think they were a bit confused as to why I'd want to do that. And when I spoke to my own physio, who knows me a bit better and knows the kind of training load I do, he was far more cautious about the cycling and swimming load. But it has been fine. So the hospital said, as long as you're below a 5 out of 10 on the pain scale, it's okay. And I've done up to 2.5 hours on Zwift. I'm doing all my cycling inside because I don't want to have to suddenly stop on the bike outside or hit a big hill and twist my foot in a weird way. And that's been fine. And then I did my first swim back today, did the whole set, almost the whole set with a pull buoy and just like 100 meters to test out the ankle. Pull buoy stuff was fine, a little bit of pain when I started using my feet as well, but nothing too bad, so I can still do that. Then I've got a bunch of physio stretches that the hospital sent through, and in fact, because today is the 2-week post-injury day, I get to switch up my physio and do more today. So I'm doing those probably 3 times a day. The majority of people I find who get prescribed physio exercises don't do their physio, and if you want to recover magically and sort your body out, actually doing the physio exercises you get prescribed is really something that most people don't do, but when they do, they get results. So if you ever get physio exercises and you're tempted to just blow them off, I'd really encourage you to try them and see what results you get if you do them as prescribed. I know it's a pain, especially if it's like 2 or 3 times a day, but you really will get results from that. So I'm doing the physio and then elevating the ankle and sticking an ice pack on it. And then I'm also using some healing imagery, so using mental imagery. If you've done my visualization and mental imagery course for athletes, you know, I'm big on that. It's huge in psychology. So I'm doing a daily practice of using some mental imagery, specifically healing imagery, to help it heal faster as well. And that's composed of some healing imagery in terms of imagining the bone coming back together and getting stronger, and also returning to running and completing some races and all of the excitements associated with that. Okay, next up then, so how can psychology help us with the recovery process? Because when it happens, we'll probably feel pretty bummed out, pretty annoyed, pretty upset, a lot of emotion going on there. So how can psychology help us do that? Well, number one clear thing is to keep thinking of yourself as an athlete. So rather than someone who is injured and is going to be an athlete again later, I'm very much thinking of myself as an injured athlete who's still put together my weekly training plan and making sure I'm thinking about where I'm going and what my season looks like, and understanding that I might have to make changes and adaptations to that, but very much still coming at it from an athlete mindset. Also, goals are really important, so I've already rearranged all of the races that I can't do. I had a bunch of winter cross-country races. I've rescheduled all of those to races for when I can run again, and so I've reset up the goals. I had the goals that I was going to do in the next 2-3 months, and I've rescheduled those goals, so I still have goals to work towards. They're just a bit further away. And then I've been using this mental imagery practice, this healing imagery, and I've been revising. I teach a whole module of recovery on my sports psychology for triathletes course, and I've been revising all of that material. It's come in super useful, especially around thinking of yourself as an athlete, using that healing imagery, understanding the recovery process, and understanding that there will be setbacks. There'll be time I feel good, time I feel not so good, and just expecting that and getting ready for that so that I know how to handle it. So let's summarize everything we've covered in this video. So I've got an avulsion fracture, legs in a boot. It sucks, but it happens, and like it could be way worse. I was talking to a friend yesterday who broke his midfoot. He had pins in his foot for 9 months. He had pain for a couple of years, and even many years on now, he can still feel it. Whereas, fingers crossed, this should be healed this year, should be back running in 8 weeks. So it definitely could be a lot worse. If it happened to you, hopefully this video is useful in early expectations and what you can be doing in the first couple of weeks. I'll hopefully make more videos as we go, and we've been through all of the stuff I'm doing, and really bringing in some of that psychology of how we think of ourselves, our self-image, how we can still use goals, a really important way to make sure that we're still focused and we're still moving forward, and using that healing imagery as well. So hopefully that was useful. If so, please give this video a thumbs up. And if you're into running, you're into triathlon, then hit that subscribe button, because that's what my channel is all about, and I would love to see you in another video.